what we're planning to do today. So our goal is to give you a few tips on how you might start the process with clients to reclaim the brain, to coach for healthy rewards, to really turn the dopamine system into one that craves healthy fixes, healthy goals, a healthy lifestyle. And that's actually really the message of Pam's work and book. So we've got two parts. The first, we actually want to, Pam's going to give you a little bit more around scope of practice and how you might work with people who have an addictive brain. But we want you to sort of get in touch with the universality of this and pair up or in trios, whatever you prefer, and just share your own stories of either yourself or others. And then that'll take us through until 12:15, which is our lunch break. And then this afternoon, Pam and I are going to role play. She's going to play the addicted brain.
And I do it so well.
Yeah. And I'm going to do my valiant best to help her get unhooked a little. And we're going to do four exercises. And Pam and I will do a demo first, and then you'll do a practice, and then we'll debrief. And we're going to focus on 4 steps in reclaiming the brain.
The second book especially is very good.
So this is your turn, Pam.
It's really good. No, a lot of people had been asking me, about how one goes about putting a lot of this together for so much of what you see on a day-by-day basis. And so we start first with the whole issue of definition. And this is actually a definition that's been excerpted from Kelly Brownell, who's probably one of the great names in public policy in food addiction. He was at Yale at the Rudd Center, and now he's down at Duke doing the same thing. And really, for a long time, when it says that food and addiction was established in the popular culture, how many of you just walk around saying, damn, you sound like a little addict. I'm so hooked on this stuff, can't live without it. Withdrawal is hell, need a hit, goes on and on. For years, my patients sounded like this, and all of us kind of embarrassedly and quietly at big meetings would say, you think there's something to it? Then we got wind of Nora Volkohl's work, and when she had begun her neuroimaging studies, we began to have a fairly good idea that, oh my goodness, there really was something to this, that we were seeing organic changes now in the black box, no longer a black box. And so it's almost as though consumers have been teeing this up forever. And I'm not kidding you. I've told Margaret this a million times, that on WebMD, Discovery.com, all the rest of them that I work with, I have a column in Prevention magazine now. It's a lifestyle coaching column. The people who have heard about this and have read the book and the rest of it are so relieved to know, A, they're not nuts, B, they're not filled with shame, blame, and guilt about, I just don't have the willpower. I mean, I'm sorry. There's some science here that we need to deal with, right? And one of the best things you could possibly do is to deliver that to the people you work with. So there's huge science here. The reward center is changing up. The prefrontal cortex is becoming impaired. We have a problem here. Problem, Houston. And so, you have to do everything you possibly can to make certain that person's getting all the resources and help they can to be able to repair both of those brain centers. I'm being beyond simplistic because it's obviously much more interconnected than that, but I'm keeping it real simple so you can just see boom, boom. 2 things you could tell your clients, patients, people that you're working with, and it is so filled with hope. It's just so filled with hope. So, and then all of these things that we talk about, the eating, the presence of untoward consequences, the compulsivity, etc., all of these have, and I quote, and this is our usual cagey term in research, have suggested that there might be food addiction. The hell with it. It exists. And we've moved way beyond that now. We now understand that this is a real entity that's being dealt with now at a global level, And thank you once again to Dr. Volkow and her brilliant crew.
You might say something, Pam. I know there are some naysayers out there who are challenging the notion that there is such a thing as food addiction. Do you want to just speak to that? Because it isn't a clean slate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think it's really important. I mean, to Amy's points, and she did such a fantastic job, I hope everyone agrees with me. No, I want everyone to... No, I mean, I love all the, it's not even so much naysayer, it's just how much information do you actually have? How much information do you have? Do you understand the science? Do you understand the psychology? It's a psychobiological challenge. That's what it is. It's everything. It's not just psychology. For the longest period of time, it was an intuition thing. Let's reestablish and redefine our relationship with particular things. It could be food, whatever. Just fill in the blank. Today we're doing food, and that's great. I think that's fantastic. You need to do that, but you also have to do it in the face of science. I mean, you can't deny science. And so what I say to people is, I just keep educating as best I can. That's all I do, and I say whatever you wish to do with that is, God bless. Right? But just make sure you thoroughly understand the science here and stay with it. And if you really want to stay with it, do that little Google alert on food addiction. Oh my gosh. I mean, that thing will blow up every day in your face, because you'll see more and more and more of what's coming down. There's a new epidemiologic study which Margaret and I read, and this is a Canadian study, and it showed that 1 in 20 people are classified as food addicts by criteria. They meet criteria that women are twice as likely to have this issue than men, although men definitely have it. They just do it a little bit differently, right? Wipe the shock off your face. So there you have the gender specificity. So we just keep collecting more and more data. This kind of reminds me of the early days when I wrote my first book on stress. And I looked at the stress-fat connection, and I remember people saying, oh, that's ridiculous. Toxic stress has nothing to do with your girth. Oh, well, flash forward, we have the metabolic syndrome and 900,000 studies that have affirmed what we first said. So I think we're in the early stages of this, and I love naysayers, and I love people who, have questions about this, because that means we're going to constantly stimulate and provoke excellent science. I love that. So bring it on.
So there's a wonderful article in Harvard Business Review in July, so it's very new, called Your Brain at Work. And it's attempted to distill what we know about neuroscience. And if you read in New Yorker this month, the article called Mindless by Adam Gopnik, who talks about all of the neuroskeptics around there. There's a whole series of books now that are bringing out the other side, that we're really going and stretching the neuroscience way beyond where it's at. But I think this is kind of a useful model, and so we adapted it to the reclaiming your brain. So one can think about the brain as having a set of networks. We now know that most of what happens in the brain is across many brain regions. And there are 4 networks that this article describes. The first is the reward network, which Pam's been telling us a lot about, that relates to the dopamine system and both the seeking of pleasure and the relieving of pain. Then we all know this one so well, the default network, which is what is happening when you're not thinking and conscious. So it's all the automatic stuff. And when I mentioned this morning that you really want to come back into your inner frog brain to pause and get into experience mode and let the default network do its thing, that's often when the creative ideas, they usually come out when you're not focused. And so the default network is very important to our functioning. Then we have the affect network, which is all the emotional stuff. Our emotional systems are constantly sending us signals. Can we turn my mic back on? Our emotions are constantly sending us signals that either our needs are being met or they're not being met. A negative emotion is simply saying, I really want you to listen to me, I've got a need that needs to be met. And a positive emotion is indicating that your needs are being met and you want to do more of that. And then we have the control network, and that's the master controller, the prefrontal cortex, the part of us that is our consciousness. And so we're looking at these various networks relating to how you can deal with the addicted brain.
And you know, it's important for everyone to keep in mind that this is what it is today. A year from now, we may have so much more. We will have so much more. And I can't begin to tell you how very, very complex these interconnections are. So, you know, this lovely little paradigm of the 4 networks is a great sort of template to start with to help you understand how you can actually apply it on a practical level. I'm just laughing about the frog thing. I'm having like PTSD because a book I have on my iPad, I think I showed it to you once, is a book on procrastination. I always procrastinate reading it, but, you know, and it's called Eat That Frog. And so, you know, there's always, when you said the frog thing, it's like that, there's that instant little frog, and then there was the Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy, because the paradigm is always go for the toughest thing first, so just quickly get it over with. So no more frogs, okay, you're killing me here.
Well, there's a cue. Maybe you need to get your prefrontal cortex online.
I need to get my prefrontal cortex. Help me.
So
help me.
So basically, there are a number of brain malfunctions that happen in the addicted brain that map to these networks. And Pam has already explained that the control network in the prefrontal cortex is not functioning well. The connections between the control network and the deeper brain are not working very well. In fact, I think they're even somewhat absent. So there's inadequate self-regulation. The brain then says, oh, the Twinkie isn't good for me, is not coming on stream. The prefrontal cortex is not online. And then there are a number of common issues in the affect network that go with addiction. The first is that your bucket is simply too full. The amount of stress you have in your life is dimming the lights. It's turning down the prefrontal cortex and impairing your brain's ability to focus, to learn, and to be creative.
You see the stress piece of that? All right. The Achilles heel of all addictive behaviors, whether it's, you know, videotaping or back and forth, is the inability to adapt and adjust to life's stresses without knee-jerking into self-destruction. Therefore, the 2 words that are most operant here, and you'll hear us when we do our play acting later on, are adapt and adjust. Adapt and adjust. Go back to Darwin's wonderful quote when he said, it's not the strongest who survive, it is not the smartest who survive, it's those who can adapt who survive. And the ability to be able to move with that, and for whatever reason, epigenetically or otherwise, there are certain individuals who find it much more difficult. They look in that toolbox and they're not finding stress-resilient tools. And this is where all of you could really help them, how to be able to think ahead, plan A, plan B. Otherwise, what you get is that knee-jerk response. Remember the Frankel quote about the stimulus and response? I actually turned it into a verb with my patients. I just call it frankling. Okay, just frankle through the day, right? Just keep pausing, doing this thing, back, forth, stay with it, because that will help you remember, oh, gotta adapt and adjust. That's right, keep forgetting, A square in it, adapt and adjust, adapt and adjust. So that's to that point on the negative emotions causing stress.
So Rich Ryan, who, as we've mentioned, is the world authority on autonomy, brings home about how potent how much we need to be the self-authors, the authors of our own lives. What that means is that when we feel out of control, when we don't feel we are the masters of our own destiny, that's a very bad place to be. Of all the negative emotions, it's among the worst, this sense that I am not in control. And that's quite common. Well, it probably is universal, wouldn't you say, Pam, from your experience in addiction, this sense of I really feel out of control. And when you feel out of control, it feels so awful that your dopamine, your reward system, is asking to relieve the pain, and so you reach for whatever it is that you're craving in order to take away temporarily that and put you back into control for a moment where you're doing something to relieve that terrible place. Then another major area of human need is the notion of self-esteem, our self-worth, our value as a human being. You know, that my life matters, I matter, and that both we give ourselves lots of affirmation and we get it from others. And when we don't think we're worthy, then we start down the shame, blame, and guilt path. You know, I'm not good enough, I'm lousy, I screwed up, you know. And in the addict's mind, you go from I'm getting back in control and damn it, I'm going to have a drink, or I'm going to have my cookie, or whatever it is, and then you follow on with, oh, what a loser I am that I did that.
It's even worse than that. I mean, look, if I'm a cocaine abuser, we have an algorithm. We even have a cable radio show called Intervention, if you've ever watched it. And so someone will say, oh my God, it's so sad that you're a cocaine abuser, and so we're going to get you into rehab. We're going to get you off that stuff. You're going to have a brand new life. Things are going to be wonderful, and so you're like, oh, okay, and, there you are. What do you do when you eat 13 pints of ice cream at nighttime? Who are you going to tell that to? How about no one? Number one, you'll be laughed out of the room, shame, blame, and guilt. And what if it turns out to be video gaming? Shh, don't want to tell anyone. I'm not even kidding you when I tell you one of my patients was absolutely hooked on doing puzzles until late at night. She would stay up till 3 in the morning. Puzzles, and because I'm a physician, I think that they're more open, to telling me. But they may not be open to telling you these weird, strange little things. And then they're walking around sleep deprived, doing stupid things all day because they're tired and they're eating stupid things and they're not exercising because they're tired, and it goes on and on. But you didn't, there's something missing here. So the shame, blame, guilt thing is even worse if you don't have just the typical credentialed, validated, verified, addictions like drug and alcohol, things like this. So, gambling, drug, alcohol, sex addiction. I mean, we've heard them all. So we're kind of there already. But what do you do with all of this? Huge amount of shame, blame, and guilt. People look down at the floor and they look up real quickly to make sure you're not laughing at them, that they still feel safe. Is this a safe place to tell you these things? So, be very crafty and creative, loving and supportive as you're asking these kinds of questions. How do you spend that 24 hours? Let's go through it. Are there any other things? Something, I'm open to everything. And then just let it just keep organically, happening here. Shame, blame, guilt.
The other thing we're really just going to touch on briefly is where the therapist comes in. Because there is a high incidence, as Pam mentioned, of what's now called adverse childhood experiences, big or small traumas. It doesn't need to be abuse, just a really tough, challenging childhood, which doesn't get digested, doesn't get healed, and fills the pool of negative emotions and makes people more vulnerable to cravings and addiction. The psychologist I would refer you to, who I have the pleasure now of working with, is Dr. Christine Courtois, and that's Courtois. And she literally, if you look her up, she's literally written the Bibles on childhood trauma as they manifest in adulthood and what to do with them. It's brilliant, brilliant work. And one of the things she's going to be doing is helping me as a collaborator, putting together a national template for, I've just taken on a work as a senior science advisor to Elements Behavioral, which is probably one of the country's largest addiction, eating disorders, and mental health groups. And she and I are both going to be infusing a lot of this trauma thing into it. Now, scope of service. Once you start touching on that stuff, it's off to the therapist you go. Okay, that's not for a coach to be messing with. That is very dark territory. Some things are fairly straightforward, but there's
you can uncover some things that are a little owies. And I would really be very, careful about that, because that requires a psychotherapist who can really deep dive into this, and to help that person make the appropriate connections. And then you, as the fabulous coach and guide for that entire process, to make certain people stay on track, especially with following the trail of dreams.
Okay, so let's come to the reward network. So the simple idea is that we're really helping ourselves and others reprogram our reward network so that we are looking forward to healthy fixes and no longer craving the unhealthy fixes. So it's a real process of rewiring. And then when it comes to the default network, that's when we don't even stop and notice that we're craving. I mean, how many times have you wanted to pick up your phone this morning? Am I the only one that was really having to work at keeping it on the floor? And how do you bring yourself back to that mindful moment so that you don't fall down the hole of the unhealthy fix? And so, just to bring this home, unhealed adverse childhood experiences cause often wounds to both, there's too little love and attachment, so people didn't get enough nourishment, and they were also not approved. There was a lot of criticism, so both they were wounds to their sense that I am cared for and I'm loved and that I'm worthy. And those are overwhelming wounds that then, as Pam mentioned, lead to this place where people retreat because the world isn't safe. And so they live this inner world. And then by the time they're teenagers, it becomes overwhelming. And then they become very vulnerable to addictive substances. So this is a tough place to be, and we want to be extremely compassionate. I mean, this is where you want to do your own work around whatever adverse experiences so that you know what it's like to go down to those deep places and heal those old wounds.
What you really want to ask is, and you want to look for as someone delving into this with someone, is, are they escaping? They keep looking for little ways to escape all day long. And what do you do when you escape? Certain escapes are fine. I mean, I go take a run, whatever. And that's fine. I want to get away from it. I'm talking about people who are doing things that are becoming more self-destructive. Social withdrawal, not making friends, not connecting, not bonding. What's going on with that? Margaret and I attended a Harvard meeting a couple weeks ago with Thich Nhat Hanh, the great Zen master. And this was psychotherapy, mindfulness, and meditation. And one of the things that I was thinking about as he and his monastics and the others were talking about mindfulness is how painful it is for some people to actually be present, because what they're present with is painful. They maybe don't have friends. Maybe they're awfully successful in business, but they live a terribly socially isolated existence, and then they fill it with ways to escape. And then they get hooked on those ways to escape. And next thing you know, they're just absolutely entangled in this mess. And so coming back again, mindfulness is one of the best ways to be able to help bring someone back up. That's why doing mindful meditation is, or anything, as they say, living it on a day-by-day basis, being absolutely mindful on a moment-by-moment basis, helps you stay here and then start correcting to help you understand what you must do to correct your own life. And when I say correct, I mean start establishing bonds. But if it's very difficult, because you have those childhood issues, all the rest of it, this is where you also need to have that scope of practice thing. Who can help you with those deeper issues? Because a lot of people have very tough issues.
So then this is the game plan, and this is what we're going to spend our time together on. How do we help improve the function of the control network by moving away from the unhealthy or false fixes that are not good for us, that are really driven by error messages as opposed to healthy messages, and begin to pursue the healthy fixes which reestablish all of the changes in the brain that we want. Then with the affect, the emotional network, our best toolbox today, and as Pam said, this is ever changing, is first to be able to sit in a place where you can be with the pain, suffer well, as Thich Nhat Hanh said, to be present to it, and to accept it, to name it, which helps the prefrontal cortex get on top of it, to be self-compassionate. Pam explained the hand position where you cross both hands over your heart. To then, and you know, all of you who have been through coaching school, you know how we talk about you want to build positivity. You want to start there, because if you build positive emotions, whatever creative way you use, Barbara Fredrickson talks about shared positive emotions being the basis for the health benefits of positive emotions. But when you're working with someone who's sitting under a pile of negative emotions, you may actually have to lighten that load a little, even as a coach, before there's space for the negative. So once we've been able to lift this load a little, then we can help people begin to access other resources and other positive emotions.
You know, I use this word healthy fix and unhealthy fix in my book, The Hunger Fix, because I want you to be a pusher. I do. I want you to push healthy fixes. All right? What's a healthy fix? Well, obviously anything that's going to be conducive to your health and well-being. Zumba, good poker game with the guys, I don't care, whatever it is. But, you know, it's got to work for you. You have to make it work for you. And so if you remember what Dr. Volkol said in that four-prong approach to dealing with all this, you're switching off constantly. We'll do one for the other. We'll do one for the other. And then retraining the brain through neurogenesis. You're actually going to be creating more neural circuits to be able to supervene over the old ones. Takes time, patience pill. Will the old ones go away? Never. That's a permanent change on your epigenome. PTSD is going to go away. Seriously? No, but you're going to dampen it. It becomes a whisper instead of a scream, right? So this is why I just want you to, you know, keep in mind that we're looking constantly, hunt for the healthy fix that works for that individual. Be creative. Don't give them something that works for you. Listen, what really works for them? And maybe sometimes it sounds kind of funky or corny. Hey, honey, listen, if it's not a false fix, I'm loving it. So make sure to be creative. Let them think it through. If they want to follow that trail of dreams, what are those dreams? So let's do it. Make sense?
So the last piece of this, now you've got the healthy fixes and the control. Our prefrontal cortex is choosing those more often than the unhealthy fixes. We've improved the functioning of the emotional network so that we can bring ourselves back up to a place where the negative emotions settle, either through deep therapy or just a moment of self-compassion, and we start to become more positive. And then we're in a good place to handle the enablers. You know, those cues, those things that trigger us, which really continue to trigger us for a long time after you start this process.
And you're everywhere. They're everywhere. When you step outside your home, what do you see? A billboard for methamphetamine? I mean, come on. You go to Whole Foods or you go to, you know, Giant, Kroger, Safeway, what do you see? Right? You see little lines of Coke in one of the... No. That's why, in a way, being cute here, it's easier to get off that stuff. You know, pitch the loser friends, don't have to spend the money anymore, move somewhere else. How do you get away from some of these other cues, though? It's not just food. They're just ubiquitous. They're everywhere. Magazines, just a spoken word. In my book, I described one woman, Bonnie, who, hardcore, and she said, geez, I just get a coupon for McDonald's in the mail, and I could just smell the fries. I'm like, really? It's a piece of paper. No, there's fries in there somewhere. You know, and she'd go there. This also reminds me, did you see that thing at USA Today about the Burger King coming up with Satis fries? I mean, hello? Are you kidding me? Seriously. So we have 150 calories of trash instead of 300 calories of trash. Great, I feel better. How about you? And then when you walk into a Burger King, you're surrounded 24/7 by more cues, like you're really going to choose the Satis fries, and that's going to make a big difference. Oh, marketing.
Okay, so the strengthening of the control network, this is where the mind, mouth, and muscle comes. So this is where our work as coaches can really focus. We are working on the mind and improving the functioning of the mind via mindfulness and breathing and sleep and all the things that Pam's been talking about. Pam, you might want to say something about, there are foods that actually do speed up the replenishment of dopamine receptors.
And you'll read about them in my book. Someone once said this was called SSP, shameless self-promotion. No, but the reason why I say that is, I can't sit here and just recite the whole damn thing, but suffice it to say, there are foods with phenylalanine and taurine, specifically as amino acids, the precursors to dopamine, that will most definitely help you. I'm going to go into this in much more detail after lunch, because if I start mentioning food, then your little stomach starts going like this. It's almost lunch, and that's a terrible thing to do to people. You'll just never guess what one of those foods is. I went into the bathroom and they're talking about kale in the next stall. It was really wild. Obviously, I've had an impact. So you're going to be looking for not only dopamine boosters, but also methyl donors. So the good news is you get a twofer out of this one. Yeah.
And then I think we know the story about exercise, so let's move on. And then I mentioned that I have a new hypothesis paper that's in the Global Advances Journal that is available.
And it's fantastic. Got to read it.
I got it, and I can send you a link. But these are a set, and I went through them this morning. These are a set of fundamental capacities, needs, drives, whatever you want to call them, of being human, which are our sources of resources. And we don't generally access all of them. It's hard to be creative when you're craving sweets. It's hard to be compassionate. And all of these things are things that we can build up as coaches, helping people access more of all of their strengths in order to overcome these great challenges. So next we want to have you break up. Let me just check the time here. So we have 11 minutes. So let's combine the two, and you can pick one. So you're going to get into a small group, and what you want to do is to just share experiences of your own or someone else of a brain malfunction around negative emotions. Some set of negative emotions, you said there's lots of different ways this can manifest, which led you to go reach for something that probably wasn't healthy. Does anyone have experiences on those? Okay, good. Okay, and then the second one is you're in default network, and you go to the buffet, and what does that happen? So you're not awake, you're not using your prefrontal cortex to figure out how to make choices. So pair up, and we'll spend, let's do, we'll do 6 minutes, because it probably won't take too long. Then we'll debrief, we'll just get a few stories, we'll break for lunch, and then we'll work on
Flip
practicing.
back to the other one so they can see that. And the thing that's important, helpless, hopeless, defeated. Those are my 3 musketeers. They're in everything I write about. Because when that happens, let me tell you what happens in your body. Stress hormone soars, and your sex hormones dive. It's very interesting. Your estrogen levels come down, your testosterone levels come down. You're in full defeat. We see this in animal models all the time. And so when you're like this, you're not exactly like getting it up to do some executive functioning here. And so it's really important to identify when that ever happens, because it's a setup. It's a setup for maladaptation. All right, pair it up.
So let's assume you'll be in groups of 3 and 2 minutes each to share your experience.
Go ahead, Margaret.
So let's, we've got 3 minutes. We're going to try and stay on time. Let's hear from 3 people. What would you like to share?
Go for it.
Great.
We have someone here.
Okay, I would like to say about mine. I'm go to the Overeaten's reunion. Weight always being an issue for me. And I'm a coach and a psychologist, and I'm so happy that I'm seeing your workshop. So I got yesterday from my country, like was 10 hours of flying. Then I picked up a bus in New York and came here. I was very, very happy. I just check in a good hotel, go to Walgreens. I will buy some fruit, I will buy some turkey and some health stuff. But I pick up a package of pretzel. So when I saw it,
crunchy air.
yeah. And when I saw it, when I was in the bed with my pajamas and I ate the half package. And then I started, I'm not feeling good, it's too salty. Why I did that? I'm happy, I'm not stressed. You know, I am like, I have some situations that I overeating to feel empty or I'm hungry or I'm sad or something. But that time, I just think about it. Why I did that? I'm so happy. Why I ate the whole package and not the fruit?
The myth that you have to self-destruct only when you're stressed is a myth, right? When you're cued, you'll do it. You'll be happy, up, down, around, around, and if you have the appropriate cue, you'll knee-jerk right back into it, won't even realize it. How many of you have ever figured out, and it could be any habit at all, by the way, any habit at all, you know, compulsive shopping, you know, things like that. Just have to look at something and you're off and running, okay? And so if you practice mindfulness and you walk into that Walgreens, the purveyor of strange things, then, you know, and even if you went to Whole Foods, I mean, come on, just go to the bakery department. Are you kidding me? It's like, wait a minute, is this Whole Foods or is this a scary place? You know, what are we doing here? And you just have to, whoa, what am I doing here? Stay completely attentive in the moment. And instead, what happened was you just went into cruise control. And it happens all the time. So you just keep practicing it. Practice, practice, practice. Right? And that takes a daily practice. Not, you know, you don't learn how to run a marathon, you know, by running once a month. That doesn't happen. You got to keep that. Plus, neurogenesis. The circuits are built if you keep hammering on that. Okay? The little construction crews have to keep showing up on a daily basis in your brain. And if you just do it once a month, it's not going to help. So, consistency with mindfulness. Who else? We need 3. We got another?
We got the, here, choose.
One other thing that I just wanted to bring to your attention is that you were vulnerable because you were likely sleep deprived after flying and without good rest. So we automatically are not thinking at our...
Actually, she was feeling okay, she says, which is rare. But your point is extremely well taken because it's everything. It's a whole package deal, as we mentioned earlier this morning. Go ahead. Over here.
Thank you. I write a blog, and so when I'm writing, I write a blog, and when I'm writing, I feel helpless, hopeless, and defeated, and uninteresting, and many, many things. So to counter that, a couple of weeks ago, I put Bejeweled on my computer. And I don't know if you're familiar with it, but yes. It explodes and it tells me that I'm awesome and many things. But what I find when I'm doing is it erodes my decision making. So I have, in those few moments, destroyed all of the decision making abilities that I'll have for the rest of the day, or at least until I've taken a walk or slept or something like that. And it's compulsive. I have a trampoline that I could go and jump on and put some music on and feel instantly better in that 5 minutes. But it's compulsive to play that Bejeweled and be told that I'm awesome.
I don't know, I kind of like it myself. No, just kidding.
Yeah, is that a healthy fix or an unhealthy fix?
I know, seriously, let's think about this for a minute. You know, I think you can get a win-win out of this one. First of all, you're writing, and I'm a writer. You know, been there, done that. When I wrote my first book and I was being interviewed by NPR, the guy went off the live show for a moment. He said, so how much weight did you gain? And I said, I didn't gain anything. I mean, what are you talking about? I wrote a book. He says, every time I write one, it's good for 15 to 20. And I said, why? Because think about it, how abnormal it is. Sit there for 12 hours and 20 hours and, you know, your whole life goes to hell and everything. And it occurred to me that one of the ways I had gotten out of that, I was riding it on my farm. And what I would do is wake up in the morning and I would run in the morning just to de-stress, and it's so pretty outdoors and whatever, and then come back in and sit on my can forever, right. And then at the end of the day, I would repeat the same kind of, let's get outside and see the sunset and, grab the dog and do the whole thing. By the time I realized it, I was probably cranking out easily 5-6 miles a day minimum. No wonder I didn't put on any weight, because what's happening is when I was stressed out, sure, I would do a little bit more of this. That's normal. It's a very nervous habit. People do that. Animals do that. They get very chewy. You ever notice that? Look at your nice Persian rug next time when when your cat gets really nervous and they start like that, or your dog eats all the grass in your front lawn. The same thing happens with humans too. So you just find ways to compensate. So having something that says you're wonderful and back and forth, or hearing it back, that's great. But then what you have to do is just come back and say, it's like a balance. It's a balancing act. I'm great, now I'm going to write. You see, you have to connect them. They're not separate. I'm feeling good about myself. I'm going to write, damn it. I had a little affirmation here. It's a little moment of affirmation. And now sit down and focus. Be mindful, must be done, and then get up and feel good again, whatever you wish to do. What we have to do is just create a little environment of balance here. And just get up, move around. Whatever, as writers, it's a nightmare. You just can't. Sitting disease, Google it, for crying out loud. Mayo Clinic, Dr. James Levine, it's a real thing. You glacierize, mentally and physically. So that's why it's important to always assume the vertical as much as you can. All right? And to combine all that nice mind-body stuff that you're doing right now. Makes sense.
So I think it's time for a mind-mouth-muscle lunch. I don't know if you can fit them all in.
I'll drink to that.
We'll be back at 1:30.
See you.
So now we're going to do a little demo and practice. And
before we start in, for a moment, hey everyone, how you feeling so far? Are you learning? Yes. Just saying. So, are you picking up nuggets here that are helpful to you? Yes. Okay. One of the things we wanted to do, Margaret and I were talking at lunchtime, and from the number of comments and the kinds of comments we're getting, I think this is both a personal and professional experiential for you, isn't it? Yes. And that's important. So we're here for both of that. And we really want you to deep dive into this and to help yourselves with this too. Can't teach it unless you live it, right? You of all people, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to do one demo. And I'm going to be the person who is basically say, I'm going to give myself an extra, say the classic 40 pounds extra on my body. And I'm also someone who is into other self-destructive behaviors, not the Tyson stuff, but I'm just doing weird stuff, as I mentioned to you before, okay? And what I want you to do is watch as Margaret and I work together. I'm the client, and she is the top dog coach here who's going to help me. And think this thing through, because we have a little hint here. This involves not just me. This involves her in a big way, and I want you to see if you can pick it up.
So we had 4, being overambitious, we had 4 exercises, and I think we're realizing we'll probably, we'll do the first one, and then we can have a choice between the two. And we've decided to start, remember there was the I am out of control, and then there's the I am a loser, the guilt, shame, blame piece. And we're following pretty much the same process. So we're just going to focus. And actually, let's just take a poll. If you had to choose between the I'm out of control and I'm a loser, put your hand up and to pick that. So who would prefer that we focus on the I feel out of control?
They're not out of control.
And who would like to focus on the I feel like a loser? Boy, it's close. I think it's the first one, right?
I'm
Yeah.
with the audience,
Okay.
so whatever you want.
I'm going to stop along the way. We might as well make this a longer demo and just take stock and say, okay, where are we at? What am I trying to do? So that we'll pull ourselves out of the role play so we can just notice what's going on. And basically, here's my mission. My mission is to create a connection. As I mentioned this morning, when we get to Barbara Fredrickson tomorrow afternoon, we're going to talk about how when you build chemistry, there is a syncing of brain activity. And so that's my first job, is to try to get us feeling like we're connected. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm not going to go to the positivity place, which is what most of us as coaches would do. You know, what's the best thing that happened to you? What's going well? And only because, I mean, that's a great thing to do, but for the purposes of this demo, I want to stay with the issue that people have. But you all know that you want to still build positivity too. I'm just intentionally staying with the negative so I can show you how a coach can go so far with that and help make a difference, and then build back up to the positive. So, what was your name again? Are you Pam?
I hate it when she forgets my name. My name will be Pam.
Okay. So hi, Pam. Thanks so much for coming in today.
Hi, yeah, a friend of mine told me that you might be able to help me.
Yeah, and how do you feel about that?
Does your room always have 300 people in it? Just kidding, I had to do that. All right.
I specialize in group coaching.
Seriously, it's so out of control. There's so many people. I want to get some help. You know, I could do better in my life.
So this is an important moment for you to reach out for help.
I wouldn't use the word important. I'd just say I'm at my wit's end. And so I'm desperate.
Yeah, so what would you like to have happen today? What would be the best thing that could happen for you?
I'm tired of feeling out of control. I want to be in control.
Yeah, and that doesn't feel so good.
It sucks.
Yeah, I know. I've been there. Tell me about it.
How could you be there? Look at you. You're all thin, and I'm someone who's obese. You don't understand what I'm really going through. You can't. But, you know, you're a smarty pants. You understand all these things.
Yeah,
And so maybe you can help me, but I don't know. I'm just angry right now, okay? I mean, everything else is going great in my life. And, you know, I can run a company, and I can't run me. Look at me.
Yeah, so this is a moment in time where you're clearly doing really well in some areas. You've got lots of strengths in those areas, and this seems to be the area which is kind of calling for you to address right now.
I've tried to address this every which way. You know, I've tried every stupid idea out there. I've spent half a mortgage on books and DVDs and whatever. I've tried everything. Nothing works. Look at me. This is terrible.
You're in a tough place.
I can't stand in front of my board looking like this.
Yeah.
I'm ugly and I'm fat. And I bet they think I'm stupid too, but they can't because I run that company really well.
So on one hand, you've got these wonderful skills, and on the other hand, you're really suffering with this feeling. It sounds like this is a really tough place to be.
Actually, you know, I never thought about that. You use the word suffering. I never even thought about that, but you're right. I suffer 24/7.
Oh. Yeah. You're not alone. And I really appreciate you sharing just what that feels like. So a place we could start, well, actually, before I go there, if I could wave a magic wand, what would happen today? What would be the best thing that could happen for you?
That you give me hope. That you can help me think that there's a way out of this. And you want to know something? I've been suckered by everything out there. And so I'm not looking for overnight miracles. I don't believe that anymore. I used to. So I'm patient. I just want to know how to do this. I'm a smart person. Why can't I get this?
Yeah. Well, there is hope. And in fact, a really good friend of mine, a physician named Peeke, has actually taught me a lot about
Saw her
how
on
to
TV the other day.
Yeah, how to help people through this. And so let's see if we can do that. Let's have a go. Is that okay with you? Shall we see what we can do?
You know something? I'm willing to do this because, again, you come highly recommended. And I'm going to be honest with you, I've never had a coach before. I don't know what that's like. I'm tired of listening to my doctor scream at me, or be indifferent, or just blow it off. And I'm tired of some of the shaming that I get from my family. I'm just tired of all that. I just need someone to kind of understand a little bit, maybe help me.
Would you like me to walk you through what I'm going to do today? What I'm thinking we could do?
Well, you're going to my
give you a
MBA
sense?
mind. I like that walkthrough.
Okay.
Okay, so let's just
Okay.
see what that strategy looks like.
Okay, so I know you're all about like getting to the finish line quickly, but we're going to take a little bit of a winding road. And I was just at a wonderful presentation by a very famous, in fact, he's the original mindfulness teacher from now from Paris, Thich Nhat Hanh. And I want to share something that really inspired me because he taught us that suffering is hard and it's possible to suffer well. And so I thought maybe we'd start with just practicing that a little bit because in your daily life, when you're feeling the suffering kind of take over, you might have something to do that would just help it settle a bit. How does that sound?
I thought suffering was bad. So you're saying suffering well. What does that mean?
Well, so actually, let me finish the process. So we're going to first talk about how you might suffer well. And hopefully that will settle down the suffering a little bit. That's what we're trying to do, is just bring the sting, the pain, the strength of it down. Just lighten it, weaken it a little bit, and then we'll strategize about ways that you can use your strengths to do that even better. And then, of course, next session you'll be very happy because we're going to move into a planning process. But I think it would be helpful just to learn this first. Does that work for you?
So far, so good. Like I said, I just need some hope.
Yeah, I get that. Okay, so have you ever tried, have you ever learned about mindfulness, this notion of just simply experiencing and not thinking?
You know, I tried that meditation stuff. You know, it drove me to drink practically. Jeez, you know. Yeah, I was supposed to stare at a candle. I just wanted to burn the place down. You know, I'm one of those people who goes really fast. You know, you didn't get that part yet, right?
Yeah.
You know, it just, all I have in my brain is a to-do list.
Yeah, it's one very long to-do list.
Okay, and it just keeps growing longer, you know?
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to settle it all down. It just keeps going. And, you know, when people say sit down in one place and do your thing, I'm, what? I don't get that.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? I don't know.
Well, can I just give you a really simple idea? In fact, this was a very interesting part of this workshop because all of the neuroscientists were intellectualizing about the whole process of what mindfulness is, and then the Buddhist monk said, I just teach people how to eat a banana. So it's really as simple as that. So in the moment, could you just imagine just sitting as if you were about to, actually, no, this is another one that might help. Do you ever go see classical music? Have you ever been to a concert?
Oh, yeah.
You know when the
Love
conductor
it.
brings his hands down and you can hear a pin drop?
Yeah.
Can you just do that?
Oh, wow. That's actually a really great visual because I love to go to concerts. So I can, okay.
So just bring the voices down to stillness and tell me when you're there.
I'm on number 10 on my to-do list.
Okay. Keep the voices coming down till you get to stillness.
I have 2 left.
Okay? Take a breath and maybe they'll go away too.
Wow. I took a breath and I don't even realize I breathe. That's amazing.
Cool. So, now from that place, that still place, bring the emotions of feeling badly about yourself, whatever they are, just bring them to mind. Stay in that still place and tell me how that feels.
I want to run. I just want to run away. I don't like thinking about things like that.
So see if you could just ask the runner to step aside and just be there and see if you can just be okay. One of the best quotes I ever heard was, every cell is doing its best in this moment with the resources it has. So these emotions, they're just doing their best to get your attention. So can you just accept them? They really are trying to do their best in this moment.
Okay.
You got there?
Okay.
Okay. So you want to say what that feels like in your body or your mind?
Well, it's weird when you did that breathing thing with me, just take that breath. I suddenly remembered I owned a body.
Cool.
Everything that anyone ever gave me kudos for came out of my mind, not my body. So it seems like I don't even pay attention to it.
So just stay there. So what are you noticing as you're paying attention?
I feel it. I feel my body.
Cool.
It's kind of interesting. I mean, I feel what I'm wearing and that I'm comfortable right now, and wow.
So you're feeling better about all that suffering?
I'm just feeling my body. I still look at my body and I don't feel good about it.
Yeah.
I think I got the shame thing in a bad way. I just don't feel good about it. I feel terrible.
So here's the most critical step. Our negative emotions, your suffering right now, is like a crying baby. It's trying to tell you that it needs a hug. It needs you to just give it a little love. Just as simple as that. That's the biology of emotions. They're really just there, the negative ones, just to say, I really need something. Can you give me a little love right now? So one of the things that Dr. Peeke told me is that a simple way to do this is to cross your hands over your heart for a moment and just give your suffering a little hug for a moment.
It's like I want to cry because I feel like I take care of everyone else but me. I don't take care of me. I could take care of somebody I didn't even know. But why is it so hard to take care of me? You said, to give myself love. I never even think that. I'm just always doing. I gotta take care of other people. I gotta take care of a company. I gotta take care of my employees, take care of my family, take care of my friends. No one's ever given me the handbook for taking care of me. I don't get that.
This happens to all of us because we're so busy taking care of everything else, and it does get left behind. And yet, if you know what it's like to be with a baby, with a young child, we've all got that ability to do it. I mean, you're obviously good at doing it with others. So just see if you can just stay there. You may have to practice this over and over, but see if you can just sort of stay there for a moment and then see if something shifts. Let me know what happens. Just simply feeling, suffering with your suffering, just really appreciating it and feeling some love for it.
I actually feel it now. You know, before I just gloss over it. I don't want to think about it. If it's uncomfortable, I run, I escape. You know? And I just do other things. You know, if it's not my business, then it's my family or it's something else. I'm a Sudoku fan. Actually, I'm an addict. I just do those things because this way I don't have to think.
Yeah.
It really is. It's like I don't watch TV or anything. I just do these other things that keep me, oh my God, they're keeping me distracted.
Yeah, so the emotions keep trying to get your attention.
Ah, so the negative emotions then are like little red alerts that I need?
Yeah, they're a little flag
They're
saying,
flags,
would you
okay.
listen to me, please?
Okay.
Please just give me a hug.
I thought they were something to run away from because they don't feel good.
No, I know, and obviously that's how we often respond to them. But the wonderful thing is if you can just sit with them for a moment, like you might be empathetic towards someone else that's suffering, just see what happens. Can you do that for just a moment?
It's hard. I'm so used to putting it out there, not putting it inside. It's hard. But you know, it's interesting. I feel like there's another place that I can go to now instead of the runaway place. Like it's okay? Are you telling me it's okay that I could go to this place over here where I could just sort of be with my negative feelings and be with my suffering? That's okay. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so what I'm saying is the negative emotions, if they had a text message, they would say, would you listen to me? Would you hear what my message is? You know, I feel whatever that is. Would you please just appreciate and give me a little
Is that being mindful? Am I being mindful when I'm doing that?
So the mindful part was when you were just experiencing it. So that's kind of step one. I'm experiencing what it feels, you know, that I'm awake to what it's like to be human, which is to suffer. So now that you're in that place, then you want to get to a place where you're not judging or pushing away. You're just being okay with it. It is what it is. It just is what it is. And then from there, you can, so that's sort of, you're not judging it. And then the next thing you bring is then the...
Oh my God, you use that word. Isn't that interesting? I just told my kid the other day, wow, watch what came out of your mouth. You're judging someone. And I'm judging me. I'm judging me. I'm saying I'm not good enough. I'm out of control. I can't do this.
And where's that taking you?
To the hell I live with 24/7.
Yeah. Yeah, so the point of this then is to be able to stop that cycle just a little bit so that then you can be able to shift and maybe move into a different direction than you might have otherwise. You know, if you actually sit with the pain, then you don't need to escape it, and so then you don't need to reach out for whatever you might reach out for to take it away.
So I'm trying to think right now, like that judge thing just brought back a memory. It's like, so I got a trainer, you know, do some fitness stuff. You know, I figured, well, maybe that will help me, right? I'm too afraid to go to the damn gym. You know, I just look at the way I look and all these fit people and everything, and I always end up in the same hole. I don't start because I'm already on myself again. I can't get that first foot in the door. How do I do that? How do I walk into a place, no matter where it is, where I'm not feeling shame, blame, and guilt, where I'm not feeling so out of control, because then I just want to run and I just want to self-destruct again and again and again.
So what do you think? What might be a different approach? Well,
you know, it's interesting. You said something before that I didn't think about. I am successful in my life. I'm a damn good mother. I'm a really good friend, but, I also run a company. And why can't I use some of those things? Why is it that I'm so separate here? I want to grab some of those things that I do well. Why can't I get into that mental set and be able to do that for myself? So what if I go to the gym and maybe I don't look as in shape as other people? So what? Why can't I just go in there? I was the first woman in my industry, and I just went in there anyway, and I don't care what nasty little things they were saying about me or anything, but I forged forward and I became successful. Oh my God, look what's coming out of my mouth. Maybe I could do it here too? I didn't feel any shame when I was doing my work. How do I kill that? How do I make that go away? Give me some hope here.
So should we go back to that place of just experiencing? Just go through the cycle and see what happens?
Okay.
Okay, give it a try one more time.
Who was I listening to in the first place? Where the hell did I get the shame from? My mom was perfect. She was perfect. I wasn't. I love her, and she's incredible. I just think maybe I let her down, not being the perfect girl, teenager. I think that maybe she wanted. And I think maybe that's where I picked some of this up from. Yeah, I've never discussed this with her or anything because I didn't want her to feel guilty or anything. But I don't know. I think I've carried it around for a hell of a long time.
Yeah, I wonder whether you could move into that place where you just feel compassion for how that affected you.
Wow, that's really amazing. I never thought of the word compassion unless I applied it to someone else. Again, it's almost like I've had a warp shield around my body for love and support and compassion coming. I'm going to be honest with you, it's tough to accept it from other people too.
Yeah. It kind of goes with the strong, confident exterior. You don't need help.
That's me.
Yeah, you don't
Strong,
need...
confident
yeah.
exterior. That's me.
Yeah, yeah. So, what would you like to do next?
I'm scared. When I leave here, I'm just going to revert back to everything all over again. It's hard. It's just like sometimes I feel mindless, like it just all happens to me. That's why that feeling of loss of control, the minute I step outside of this beautiful office, this safe haven, what's going to keep me on track?
Yeah.
Because I have a rotten track record with this. I'm good to go for couple days, couple weeks, and then the whole thing goes to hell again.
So you know how change in the brain works. You take a step and you learn from that and you take another step. And I'm wondering whether you could come back to your breath again and see whether that might be a small pause that would allow you to change direction, small bit at a time.
So if I come back to my breath, then I'm feeling my body. If I'm feeling my body, I can feel more compassion for myself. And if I'm feeling my body and I know I'm a strong person, why can't I apply everything that I do in the rest of my life to this? Is it the shame that's dragging it down? I keep coming back to that again.
Yeah.
How could I allow myself to get in this position in the first place? I'm a mess.
So, the way out, Pam, is through the compassion. Is to not go around and around and around, but just sit with the pain, and over time it will start to dissipate.
So I just stay with it. I just focus on that. And I think of the word compassion. Actually, it's interesting. Compassion's doing something to my mind right now that I haven't felt before. And that is, it's like, wow. I'm taking care of me for once. You know, I got the hair down, the nails, the clothes, the rest of it. Those are all the easy things.
Yeah.
It's just all the rest. It's just, I keep hiding. I'm hiding. That's what I've been doing.
Yeah, so what about the possibility then of coming to that place? You know, bring the voices down and be accepting it is what it is and being compassionate towards yourself. What about that in your life?
And then use that as I walk into the gym.
That'd be a good time.
Use that in a real-time thing. And what did you say that monk said about eating a banana?
Being mindful is really simply about experiencing, not thinking. So when you were talking about your mom and all this history, you're in thinking mode as opposed to really just sitting and experiencing the emotions for a moment, just being with them, like the crying baby, and being okay with that for a moment, not hours, just a couple minutes, and then feeling some compassion as just a little small way of shifting out of the loop that has been driving you crazy.
Wow. You know, it's interesting. When I came in here, all I could think about was how I've screwed up in the past and worried about the future. And what you're telling me is that the real money is in the present and just being present. Wow, I never even thought about that.
You've heard the term, the present is a gift?
Yep.
So
Now I get it, though. I let that one go in one ear and out the other. I was like, whatever, thanks for sharing. But now I'm starting to get where you're going. You know, it's really weird. I feel a little lighter because when I came in here, I was angry. Just angry that I got in this place in the first place. I've tried everything. I don't understand why this doesn't work for me. What's wrong with me? There's everything wrong with me.
Right. And where are you now?
I think I could be right with me. I just have to practice that compassion thing. That's hard.
Yeah, it is hard for all of us. Does anybody find this easy, being compassionate towards your own? I think you've got 300 people here with you on that one.
Is this going to happen for every session? I mean, just asking. Why don't we stop now and see how we do?
Yeah, sorry.
Do you want to stop now and just...
Yeah, so it sounds as though your energy's up. It sounds like there is a little more hope.
I feel
in your voice.
lighter. You know, I feel lighter. I feel scared. This is new. This is a new place. I just want to knee-jerk back into my old stuff. But you know something? I've hit rock bottom. It's only going up now. So I'm willing to give it a whirl.
Great. Okay, well done. Well done. So, coming back to all of us, what I was drawing from here, and many people... many of you are familiar with the mindfulness work, which is what, since John Kabat-Zinn came on the scene, probably 25 years. And then in the last... you may have heard of acceptance and commitment therapy and acceptance and commitment coaching. So that's all about accepting where you are. And then we didn't get so far as to commit to a future goal, but that would be the next step. And then Kristen Neff's work in self-compassion, which, in fact, Barbara Fredrickson tomorrow will talk more about love of self. And today that is, in fact, the latest sort of strategy around how do you help others and help yourself just get to a place where you're okay with suffering. You're not fixing it, you're not changing it, you're just allowing it to settle a little bit in the moment. And it really, in a matter of minutes, you can shift your mood. It will settle and you can shift your mood and move into your next phase. And it's wonderful to learn how your negative emotions will respond very quickly to just that. It's okay to feel this way. I'm not rejecting you, I'm not pushing you away. And then to feel suffering for your own suffering. So how about we go into practice? Probably makes sense. If you want to do threes, that's fine. You might want to do it in pairs, whatever feels right. And we'll give you, let's do 20 minutes, sort of 10 minutes each, to really spend some time. Kind of, obviously, we've given you a bit of a heads up, but spend some time just sitting with these concepts and see where you land.
You know, one of the things I want you to do also is to remember something. I gave you a quick little hint about this. You, as a coach, you're part of the whole thing. This is a package deal. How you come off, how you connect, everything from whether or not you had a rotten day already and now you're meeting with someone, those vibes are picked up. As a physician, I was taught that the moment you come in contact with that person that you're trying to help, that it's all about being absolutely 100% vigilant and attentive to every single cue. That you meet eye for eye, that when someone's staring down, you address it. Sometimes I use the a little wit and humor. Wit and wisdom always helps, Wow, is there something on the carpet? Joke. They love it. But watch everything. Because when people are coming in, whatever their issue is, especially when it's in this sector of being, hooked, hacked, and hijacked, they're embarrassed, they've got shame, they've got all this stuff going on. They have to trust you. How do you look? How do you appear to them? How do you, every single thing, your energy, all of that, they're desperate for the hope that you can help them. That hope means absolutely everything. I cannot emphasize that enough. So you're a huge piece of that. You're not just sitting there rattling off questions and doing your thing. Did you notice the one thing I did with her? If I'm someone who has an issue and I'm looking at her, I say, how would you know? You're just some little skinny thing. If I'm angry, I'll say things like that. If I'm an angry person. And I'll just say, well you'd never understand. Right? And that's an important concept. You're a piece of the action. You're part of, as a coach, you're part of the healing arts. You are. And so always be 100% cued into yourself as you enter and meet someone. You're a piece of the solution, and much more so than just being a smarty pants with a lot of algorithms and concepts. You're a huge piece of this. Okay.
Actually, let me add one more thing, because we're talking about feeling out of control. And so the intention here was to give a client a sense that there was a possibility of being in control, that instead of being overwhelmed by the emotions, that there was a way to actually step back from that and for a moment sense, oh gosh, maybe I don't need to be taken over by this. And that's really what we were trying to do, to get back into control through being able to be mindful and accepting and compassionate. And in that moment, then you feel empowered. You feel as though there is hope and there's possibility.
Okay.
Okay, so 20 minutes. I'll give you a 10-minute alert.
I just wanted to say that can everybody hear me?
Yeah, just close to the mic.
Too close?
No,
Too
no,
far?
do it close to the mic.
Oh, I just wanted to say that I really liked watching that interaction between the two of you.
Why?
Well, that's not what I was going to say, but I'm happy to.
No, I want to know. I mean, what resonated? Just in a sentence, whatever.
Well, let me segue into what I was going to say. I think the mindfulness concept is very powerful, and also, I forget what you called it, with...
Acceptance?
Yes, I think
Acceptance.
the techniques you used were very powerful. However, I also felt that as a client, if I were a client, it seemed a little sophisticated to me to have somebody appreciate mindfulness the way you did. You got it right away. You got it before she said it. I felt like if I was coaching, I felt if I was coaching the average person, that it would take a lot more to really get them to understand. It's very sophisticated to get them to understand that concept and also to be able to utilize it. And so my experience was that, maybe that person kind of yes you and go home and not do it or that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, we were trying to, if we'd been stuck there, we wouldn't have gotten very far in the demo. So we were trying to take you through the whole process. I would really encourage us to think about mindfulness as much, much simpler than what we've gotten caught up in with the books. It really is about eating a banana, peeling the banana, and feeling it's the sensory system of just experiencing. Find ways that people do that in their lives. I was just having a chat with someone. So for instance, when you're with your pet, where are you? You're just or with a young child, you move into just experiencing. The conductor voice is another one that I've used that may or may not resonate is, have you ever had that sensation, that experience where you want a bird to land on your shoulder or something to land, like a butterfly, or you're trying to hold a butterfly, or you're being so still because you don't want to upset, or you're waiting for a bird and you're watching a bird and you've actually quiet your mind, even though the bird can't hear your thinking, you're actually quieting your mind. So how can you find simple experiences that people have that for in a moment, like you taste something really good and hopefully healthy, that burst of flavors, so I would just try to help people find that experience, or when they were young, or when they watched kids playing, so this is not, the frogs can do it. It's not rocket science.
But your point is really well taken. I go back to Prochaska's work with the stages of change, and I'm just thrilled when they blast out of pre-contemplation and they're into contemplation. I always think of when Prochaska brought this up. You have a cigarette in your hand, and you're like, probably should not smoke. It's like, whatever. Got a light? Okay, and then you move into the next one. I've got the cigarette, and 33 of my friends said it's really a scrungy thing to do to smoke and everything, and been reading a couple things, Prevention Magazine, whatever. Maybe not, and then it just that one time. But then maybe I smoked 6 other cigarettes that day, but it was one less. So what I've learned, and to Margaret's brilliant point here, is I celebrate every stinking triumph. And that means that when, to your point, we kind of blasted through mindfulness. I mean, hell, it only took me 20 years to figure it out, so I'm certainly not going to do it in one session, and certainly not with 400 people in front of me. But the issue is that every single thing has to be celebrated. So I play a game with my patients and the people that I coach. And that is, I say, I don't want a butt coming out of your mouth. That means, I didn't smoke the cigarette, but I did smoke 3 others later that day. No, the appropriate answer is, I didn't smoke that cigarette, and I'm making some progress here. Okay, there's no but. But negates everything you just said. So watch for the buts, hit the ands. And people are mindless about this. They don't realize this is spewing forth. And so you have to be listening so vigilantly for all of that vernacular. And then again, for the change thing, seriously, some of my best stories are people who come in with a magazine that's 7 years old, that's crinkled, and it's got all kinds of... One of them just did it the other day. Delta Airlines, whatever the hell their magazine is called, you're bored to death, or you're in LaGuardia, number 33 in line, and you just, you pick it up. It was 7 years old, and someone had interviewed me for whatever. And they said, and they literally came in, put the magazine down, it was all nasty and coffee stains. And they said, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm like, something, rock on with your bad self, 7 years, 70 years, what the hell, who cares? When you're ready, you're ready. When the student is ready, the teacher appears, right? So the little teacher was sitting on, I was probably crammed in some shelf near her desk or something for 7 years, and she dusted me off, and there we were, right? Who cares? Every single thing you do that sticks, begins to form a powerful foundation that is sustainable. Some things may be ephemeral, they come, they go, but the stuff that you really start sticking, it's the low-hanging fruit. That's where change begins. And you have to support and celebrate that. It's one of the most powerful things a coach does.
Let me add one other thing. I know that my presence, mindful presence, is at its best when I'm with another human being in a coaching. My husband will tell you way more than when I am with him. And when you are really that present, my guess is that we do calm our clients and patients down to a quieter place just by being there, because it's like actually, David Peterson was saying a couple days ago, everybody's rushing around doing, and you create this space of a real pause, a pause from life, a breath, to notice one's heartbeat. So that's, I think we also are teaching it by doing it, by just being in that presence. So that means that it's really important that we're not distracted. It's really important that we are, through our eyes and our faces and our energy, are completely present and awake and experiencing that moment too. And we do know, I know there's a lot of debate about whether this mirror neuron stuff works or not, but the one thing I learned, which I do think makes sense, from Marco Iacoboni, who's one of the mirror neuron researchers who just wrote the book, I think it's Mirroring People. What he said to us is that that embodied learning, so our brains have adapted to learn from others simply by watching. And it's not conscious even. And as soon as you distract yourself by taking notes or doing something else, then you lose it. And so if you create a mesmerizing sort of energy, then that actually does probably help people in the moment just to be still. Thich Nhat Hanh told us about his book, For Kids, which inspired my frog, sitting still like a frog. Can you just sit still like a frog? So I'm sure there's lots of creative ideas. I think we really want to make this mainstream and make it much simpler.
Here, he has a question right here.
I had a question. In your interactions, I understand, I guess, let me just give you a little bit of background myself. Everything I've been hearing is someone's quoting this person, that question. I'm a family physician. I've been coaching homeless individuals through some transformational trainings I learned myself.
Oh, fantastic.
And I've had good results, One of the things that kind of bothered, one of the things when I was looking at you, I understand background experiences. I've had a lot of people forgive themselves and get through that. But I think what I'm trying to understand is, you were talking earlier about neurochemistry and all these things hitting our brains, I was mentioning to my group, in the Stone Ages, if I stopped for a minute, I could probably meditate real quickly because there was nothing else to do. Yeah. And now our brains, our consciousness is being zapped, and I just thought about myself. Probably in the last few years, I've been hitting my neurochemistry without even realizing, because it's now just so easy to hit that reward center. And we can mention all the different ways it is. So what I wanted to find out is, the question being is, when you're hitting that reward center with a little iPhone, a little gelato, a little porn, whatever you want to call it, okay?
That's another lecture.
Okay, but it's all going in the same center, I assume?
Oh, no, absolutely
Am I
true.
wrong?
No.
Is there one for chocolate, one for this? One
Nope, just one.
Right, so then talking about, what's the possibilities of really reversing that on top of helping people unload their baggage, unload, their whatever they've been carrying around?
Your question is an absolutely superb one. Did you all hear it and you kind of get it? All right, and it's a major, major challenge. It's, you know, what we've created here is a battlefield. It really is. From the moment you wake up in the morning, you're hammered. It showed you what happened with the cues. So immediately, you're priming constantly, which means that if you don't have the prefrontal cortex from hell, like an Olympic level prefrontal cortex, that can really, really, you know, keep you vigilant and attentive and on topic, because I'm right with you. I mean, geez, all day long. Then you will cave to the whatever crave. You just do. Why? Because it's easier. You're tired. You're beat up. What did I just say? Tired and beat up? Let me just tell you something, as you're probably well aware as a physician. You know, there's a circadian rhythm. There's a special rhythm that goes along with stress hormone. What wakes you up in the morning? No, it's not your Sony alarm. It's actually at the end of the day, if you were kind of 100 years ago, without all the plug-ins, it's basically stress hormone with its best friend, norepinephrine or adrenaline. And so it starts a sinusoidal curve. So you start in the morning, whoa, here I am. Now, clearly, it's more intense in larks, like myself. I'm a morning person. You know, people who are owls, you know, just take it down a notch there in terms of time. And there you are. You're up and you're ready to rock and roll. You're more attentive. Did you notice that's the time of day when you write your to-do list? It's not at 3 in the morning. It's then you're so hopeful. It's going to be a hell of a good day, isn't it? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we never even hit one damn thing on the list, but that's okay. That never stops us from writing them. Then we just keep, you know, as we keep, you know, going through the day, right around lunchtime, we're still cooking, aren't we? Eating okay. Maybe we even already hit the gym early in the morning. Things are looking good. But then in the natural, normal, you know, primitive person, right around 5 o'clock, it starts to level off. Because guess what you're supposed to be preparing for? That's right. Boy, did we screw that one up, right? I'll see you at the reception at 5. No, I'll drink to that. No, but so it's hammering me. No, but so there you are at 5 o'clock. Then what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to have dinner early. Why? Because, I mean, you know, there's nothing to do. You didn't have a bunch of screens to stare at. You had nothing else going on. You had natural stuff around you. Ever try to do camp? That's where it is. Same stuff. And then, you know, you're supposed to go to sleep by a fairly reasonable time because it got dark. You know, there wasn't any, you know, big lights to keep you up, TV, Law and Order marathons, you know, the whole thing. What have we done? We've messed with that whole primal structure. And that's exactly what's happened. The rewards we got were that peach in the field that we pulled off the tree. Didn't that feel so good after you just got through plowing for 3 hours? You know, I mean, there was a give and take. It all made sense. And what we did was there was no, you know, mastermind behind all of this. There's no conspiracy. We just fell into this. We did. Our bodies are so out of sync with our environment, it's scary. It really is, if you want to really look at epigenetics in a big way. It's scary. So what we've done is we've replaced very natural rewards with very strange ones. And we call them rewarding because everyone around you does it. These are your tribal members. What the tribe does, you tend to do because you got affirmations and accolades to do that. So instead of walking to school for 2 miles, someone drove you in a Beamer. Right? And you just go on like that. So then when we look at our mind-body, we are the result of this imbalance. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to establish a new normal balance. We can't go back to the farm. That's not happening. I mean, think of what we do now. When we were true agrarians, a man would spend over 7,000 calories a day in energy. That's equal to what we do for the Tour de France on a daily basis. Okay? That's how much energy went on. Not a whole lot of obesity, right? A woman about 3,000 calories. And the minute we started not doing a lot of that anymore, it changed up. It was suddenly cool to be in a car. It's cool to have a remote. It's just plain cool not to move. Move became a 4-letter word. It did. It was like, oh my God, Seriously? You walk to school? What? But there you have it. So what we're trying to do now is just trying to make sense of this insanity that's occurred, because it really is. So we don't have a farm. So I ask you now to go to a building with a bunch of strange machines that go nowhere, but you have to pay to go into that building, and you have to do it on a routine basis. For what purpose? Please help me. You know, I'm a triathlete, so I get that. I go into building but I'm in the 0.01% of the population who doesn't break out into hives at the word exercise, because it's just in my DNA, right? Everyone else is like, what purpose? Help me. Does this help me earn more income? What's the return on investment we're doing here? Hey? And it's insane. It's hard. It's hard work to try to begin to turn this around. My heart's right with you. Sometimes I almost feel a little hopeless. It's like, you know, geez. And then we look at the entire American public. And they're desperately, to your point, trying to understand mindfulness. What? I got 2 jobs, 3 kids, and no husband. Come on. What am I doing here? And so I don't sound like some namby-pamby idiot. So it's very, very, very important we stay real with this reality. This is a tough challenge for every single one of us. Celebrate every single tiny step toward progress. That's the one thing that really fuels this. And keep them hopeful with a strategy that's real-time based. It works for them. And then help them to go back to understanding the connection between mind and body. I use spirituality. I use meditation and prayer. And the meditation, hell, make it up as you go along. I don't care. You don't have to do some particular whatever. Just be still with yourself. And you know what I found out? I stumbled into this little gift for you. I don't call it meditation half the time. I say, check in with yourself. Talk to yourself. How you doing? Close your eyes. How you doing? Whoa, what a day. And then start sinking in. No shame, no blame, no guilt. No, oh my God, did I get in my 20 minutes? You know, none of that. Check in. How you doing? People know how to do that. See what I'm saying? So again, to your point, which is a superb point, it's hard. And anything we can possibly do to help improve this whole ambiance, this whole environment that's just wall-to-wall self-destructive cues is huge progress. My heart goes out to you, and I love the work you're doing, so keep it up. Go for it, in the back, she's waving. Oh, Chris, it's always about you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Rosie Daniel. I'm also a physician teaching health coaching in the UK and shortly in America, which is called Health Creation. I loved everything you've said today. I'm particularly addressing the addiction. But what about the politics? Because the force of the marketing machine, you know, we're all beautifully motivated coaches, catalyzing fantastically positive changes in individual behavior, but we walk out of here into the mass hypnotism of the marketing machine, telling us that we've got to be going faster and eating this and so forth. Should we not, as a profession, be tackling this politically?
Oh, we already are. Well, I highly recommend that you Google Kelly Brownell. And Kelly is a psychologist who used to head up the Yale Rudd Center for Food and Politics. And what he's doing now is he's down at Duke, and he is leading a huge front to this end. And this is a very, very tough one, as one can only imagine. I'm not going to dwell on this. Just look up Kelly's work. It's spectacular. And the bottom line is we have the food industry, the beverage industry. We have mega trillions involved with this. And so one can only imagine this is going to be a tough one. Plus, it's the whole issue of food police. And it's the whole issue of habit police, right? Just any habit. I don't care what it is. So you got to be very, this is treading on some really tough territory, but just know that there are a lot of people who are already leading the force. There's absolutely no question. A lot of people have asked, some excellent questions that we're obviously not going to be able to get to completely today. I want you to feel very, very free to contact both Margaret and myself. I have a website. It's drpeeke.com. It's just my name, drpeeke.com. And I'm also going to give you all my email address right now. So write this sucker down, because as a gift to you, I want you to have that, because a lot of you had such spectacularly excellent questions, all right? And this will be held by my assistant. Okay, you ready? It's assistant@drpeeke.com, drpeeke.com, assistant@drpeeke.com. This involved both your personal questions and your professional questions as it related to what I spoke about today. Clearly, we all know how to get a hold of Margaret. Margaret and I are going to be teaming on some very exciting work going forward as we create a template to do exactly what we've been doing today. All right, make sense? We're being officially kicked out of here. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.